Jambo, my name is MARO MAUA, an LWF climate champion and an LWF delegate to the concluded COP26 and the upcoming COP27.
As you're aware, this year, all roads will be rolling to Egypt in our upcoming COP27. And this is my message to the delegation as an activist that will be in attendance. That number one, let us take a reflection, let us take a look back at what transpired in the halls of Glasgow last year with the COP26. Glasgow was filled with hope. Glasgow was filled with the will to making sure that we would actually meet securing global net zero emissions.
Our message is simple. Our message is all-inclusive. The road towards climatic justice includes all of us. Today is a day that we are committing to the Glasgow Pact that was discussed last year. Today we are going to save the planet. Today we are going to save our shores. Today we are going to communicate to the world that decisions are made in the boardroom, but here is where action takes place. Justice, climate!
Justice!
Climate!
Justice!
Save the world, guys.
But this time round, how I wish that we are not going to make promises again. If there's any other time that we're supposed to assess with much honesty, transparency, and integrity to the promises that we made in Glasgow is now. We do not have the luxury to miss our target. We do not have the luxury to toss ourselves. We do not have the luxury to really miss to making sure that we honor, we pledge, and we commit to our promises that we made. The youth have really come on board to ensuring that we raise up our voices. For the future we are trying to secure here is ours. But if we do not do something now, it would be way too late to ensuring that a dream 1.50 degrees Celsius global temperature is actually achieved. Let us use our hearts to making sure that our planet is saved. You've heard most of the time than often that we shall never have any other planet. We have to do it now or never. And, that is precisely why the Green Talk with MARO initiative is meant to call on stakeholders, governments, regimes to actually act on our pledges right now.
Rocker bags, what we do is we recycle redundant billboards and banners to create trendy, stylish, and waterproof bags. All these you're saying here, these are billboards that are waste, that are thrown away after being used. So instead of polluting the environment, we came up with an idea of recycling the waste and thereby creating affordable and trendy bags. Yeah.
Can you please tell us what really you're trying to address, what Roger Bags is bringing to the world?
Thank you very much. So we are trying to address two main problems. The first problem is climate, trying to save the environment from waste.
Yes.
Plastics is one of the most polluted items in the world. So we are trying to see how we can contribute to ensure that we reduce plastic pollution in the world. The second thing, here in Kenya, there's a huge problem of unemployment. A lot of youths are lacking jobs. Even me and my friend, who we will introduce later on, we started, but there's been a huge challenge of unemployment. So that is why we also came up with this idea, so that we can create employment for ourselves and for the other youths that will work with us. Yeah.
This year, there would be happening the COP27 climate summit in Egypt. What are your expectations with regards to the climate debates that would be ongoing?
We want to address many issues of the youth, how they can take part, or how they can make sure they're on the table when they're addressing the issues of climate. Because most of the time you find that the older people are the ones that are giving out issues, or they are giving out plans on what needs to be done to address climate issues. We also want the youth to be there. So you participating there, hoping you'll be there, you'll be able to address these issues of how the youth can take part from planning up to implementation of all matters relating to climate change, because they address all of us, and we are the youth are active, and we are many. So I believe the more we are and the more we come together, we'll be able to address these issues wholeheartedly.
Sure. And it suffices to note the encouragement, the hope that the entire community gets from the entire aspect of youth inclusion in such matters. For quite some time now, the youth have really occupied the spaces of advocacy. Again, I also want to thank most organizations that have created the platform for such youth to come in handy and give out their ideas and speak for their own future. You understand that youth bring along with them issues such as creativity, innovation, the energy, the technology that they live with in such current times. And it's also important for us to be cooperating the youth in most of the sustainable development goals and its entire totality of its agenda, simply because of the succession factor. There are really organizations that are doing a great job in demonstrating this clearly, as it is the case with the Lutheran World Federation. So as we may explore the whole subject of youth advocacy. After the leaders and the mentors and the coaches will be retiring, we do not expect to see any other people come occupy these spaces except for the youth. Another thing that we should all be sensitive about, as I have suggested and mentioned in various places and many places I've gone to, is the issue of responsible governance.
Thank you, Maro, for inviting me to this Green Talk. My name is Roberto and I'm a fisherman. We do fish activities here on the coast of Kenya.
What are your expectations? What message would you want to relay to the government and to the delegation that will be in attendance in Egypt?
Okay, thank you. I think our main concern as a fisherman, being the coast as our working space, the oceans, I would say climate change is a big effect to our fishing activities, because us being close to the shore where we do most of our activities, I would say that the biodiversity which we find on our coastlines is very important to the generation of species which we're fishing. So it's very important to keep our oceans clean. There shouldn't be any pollution, what I would say is protect our habitats close to the shoreline, because this is what will initially create more product for us to fish. And it's something that we would like to do for generations, and it's very important that we keep it safe for the generations to come.
Another key message to all regimes and governments in place that would be in attendance will be simply something called responsible governance. That even when we're trying to come up with policies, even when we're trying to come up with our individual national determined contributions, we should keep in mind that we are supposed to be responsible. We've been given the freedom to making sure that we cushion ourselves against it, and therefore let us be responsible, that even before we wait for members from outside to come and ask us what we are doing, let us do something on our own, so that when we shall be meeting in Egypt, we are all singing the same tone of the same song.
It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure.
I'm highly honored to be here to have a green talk with Maro. Thank you very much for having me.
Welcome.
My name is Regina Mwamisi, and I'm an administrator in a private sector. And today I'll give my little contribution towards what the private sector expects in climate change and global warming. I think we've taken a very big step as a country, as Kenya. We've had our government take us towards not using paper bags anymore, which was a really good initiative. And it has grown in people. It was very difficult in the beginning. We were wondering if we would really be able to do it, but we've been able to carry through with it.
I would advise the government to really look into our coastal habitats, to put programs in place which will protect the coastline. And furthermore, as fishing is in the agricultural sector, we would look into maybe subsidizing the industry like maybe other countries around the world do, that we haven't experienced in Kenya yet, to subsidize the industry to allow us also to improve our work on the coastline and also extend to markets where we have not reached so far.
I'll echo what Roberto has said. that number one, our oceanic bed should be at all costs be protected. That is to say, we will endeavor our efforts to ensuring that we keep clean of our oceans. That is to say, plastic is totally unwanted in the oceans, but instead we should rehabilitate our vegetation in the ocean. That is, plant more mangroves, ensuring that we sustain the ecosystem and the habitat of our oceans. Number two, as you put in, Mr. Roberto, there is a need for the government to cushion our fishermen, even as we try to tackle the loss and damage agenda. We will tell that the loss and damage cuts across the entire spectrum of agriculture, and therefore the fishermen too need to be protected in terms of subsidies, because the fishing activities have gone quite high. The cycling event that I ran some time back was basically to ensure that we save our ocean. We have had most of the times that oceans are now, actually islands are now sinking due to high sea rises. You've had the issue of floods, and that is why when it comes to ensuring that our oceans are clean, I'm very sensitive to it. The Green Talk with MARO initiative is meant to call on stakeholders, governments, regimes to actually act on our pledges right now. If there's any other time that we are supposed to release the funds to cushion all the vulnerable people, the vulnerable blocks, especially the Africa, is now. The $100 billion US should be released as quickly as possible for us to cushion ourselves against loss and damage.
My name is Violet Hayambo. I am a banker in the private sector in Kenya. My expectation is the countries that had pledged to give their $100 billion towards the curbing of the losses and damage that were incurred as a result of the climate change to honor their pledges. And also I would like to call upon the private sectors to come up in form of giving back to the society, also join hands in helping raise this money that is going to help curb the losses that have been incurred.
The private sector has taken a big role in ensuring that we reduce as much as possible and counter the climate change within our country. A lot of businesses have gone into renewable energies, investing in renewable energies. We also have a lot of people who are investing in zero emission, so that we plant trees and make sure that our environment stays clean, and we keep it at the minimum of pollution in our country. With COP27 coming up in November, my expectation is private sector will be more involved in reducing the global net zero emissions.
Wow.
And making our climate to be conducive.
Wow.
In a way that we will set up policies that will work towards reducing the emissions within the environment.
Absolutely.
And set up policies that will work throughout Africa, and we stand by those policies.
What a powerful message that I will make sure that it's conveyed to the delegation that will be attending in COP27. I will never forget to echo that coming from the private sector's perspective, you would want to see the private partners combining forces and ensuring that we reach to a secure net zero emissions. You say hello to your friends and colleagues even as you commit to ensuring that the private sector gets to a secure global net zero emissions.
Yes.
And we are looking forward to our 1.5 degrees Celsius global temperatures.
Amen.
And all the best as we purpose to do the same. Basically, we need to include each and everyone. That is why, again, in all this deal, we are sensitive in the issue of social inclusion and gender justice. we have to bring on board both women and men. We have to bring on board people with disabilities. We have to bring on board the private sector, non-private sector, and that is exactly why you get to hear from the private sector side what they have to say in this whole agenda. The other thing that I would really want to appreciate is the role of the faith actors. It's not just about the social aspect, but climate change is one menace that is affecting all aspects of our lives. But it's not just about the economic, it's not just about the health, it's not just about the political scenes, but also from our religious point of view. That is why the most faith actors are also coming up to speak on the need of us preserving the environment. And this one comes to you. It's a call for action. And this one goes to you too, Mr. Robert. It's a call for action that we are not going to stay silent. We will not be grounded in any way. Our message must echo this time round. Our message is one that there is no any other greater show that we are going to make in Egypt. But this time round, we cannot afford to miss this opportunity. But if there's any other thing we want to do, is to release the money that the governments and stakeholders have pledged towards this initiative. If there's any other thing we want to do, is for all of us to commit to making sure that we reach to 1.5 degrees. As I conclude on the issue of climate finance, on the issue of resilience, mitigation and adaptation, on the issue of loss and damage, the issue of responsible governance, the bottom line that cements all these pillars, the bottom line that joins all these issues will be one thing: commitment and action. There is no any other time we can act, but rather now. We do not have the luxury, as I've said, to sit down and watch it as it happens. COP27 is one clear green shot. We have to take this shot because it's on target. The shot is on target.